The investigation team found their tent, but it was torn. Someone had torn the cloth of the tent from inside because its threads were sticking out. It seemed that the hikers present inside had torn the tent and ran away out of fear. Some footprints also seen were the marks of shoes and bare feet printed in the snow. Hikers' camera and some strange photographs were also found in it. But despite complete criminal investigation, photographs and daily entries in the register, this case still has not been solved for the last 65 years. This is the story of the Mountain of the Dead, and this incident is remembered by the name of Dyatlov Pass Incident. Viewers, on the morning of the 23rd of January 1959, 10 people of the hiking team took the train and set out towards the Ural Mountain range of Siberia. This group consisted of 8 boys and 2 girls, in which Igor Dyatlov was their group leader. He kept a register with him in which moment-by-moment news was being written about their journey. During this time, group leader Igor Dyatlov made an entry in the register, the translation of which is, "I wonder what new thing is waiting for us in this trip. Is something new going to happen?" For the next few days, the group traveled by train, bus, truck, and horses. Eventually, they started climbing on skis and on foot. On the 28th of January, Ural Mountains became ill, and he decided to turn back while the other 9 hikers continued climbing. These are photos of the moment when Ural Mountains was separated from his 9 companions. But who knows that today he would be seeing them for the last time. The group of 9 people continued their journey in the snowy valleys and started documenting all the moments using diaries as well as cameras. When camera and register entries that were found everything had written, till now, it was looking absolutely normal. On the 1st of February, they reached the bottom of a mountain which is known by the local people as the Mountain of the Dead. He spent the whole day climbing that mountain and finally reached the top of the mountain. These are the last few pictures that were found from his camera. The last entry in the register, which translation is of what was written in the mountains, hundreds of kilometers away from human settlements, with strong winds like this. It is difficult to even imagine any peace. Everything that happened was found written in his register, but no one knows what happened after that. This expedition was to take him a total of 16 days. He left behind his friends and family members by telling that when they would come back down, we'll inform them by telegraph. Tension was increasing for the relatives and friends because 15 days had already passed since 16 days. But neither the group leader, Dyatlov, nor any group member. Finally, a group was organized, and on the 26th of February, they succeed to found the camp of lost hikers in the coldest mountains. Looking at this camp, it was not difficult to guess that something had definitely gone terribly wrong here. The tent was covered with a thin layer of snow, and the hikers' equipment was lying inside it in perfect condition, but the cloth of the tent was torn from inside with the help of a knife. It seems that perhaps something went wrong inside the tent, which forced to them tear the tent and run away. The next day, a search was started in the surrounding area for a hike. Near the opening of the torn tent, some footprints were frozen in the snow which were going down the mountain. There were some shoe marks in these footprints, and let us tell you here that by walking in a relaxed manner, footprints are almost formed by walking on snow. And here also the investigation team found footprints, not of long steps, but of normal steps, for about 500 meters printed on the snow. But after that, footprints disappeared somewhere. Perhaps the subsequent snow had hidden them. The investigation team continued moving in the direction of these footprints, and after some time they reached a devdar tree, and bone fire were found, as well as the frozen bodies of Yuri Krivony, Shinko, and Yuri Doro, Shinko. It took the next 2 months to find the bodies of 9 hikers. First 2 hikers had worn very little clothing, no jacket, no paints, no gloves, no hat, no shoes, nor anything that is worn to protect themselves from cold. In such cold weather, they had worn only light shirts and underpants. When they looked at the weather archive, it was found that when they died at that time, the temperature here was around minus 30 degrees Celsius. But their clothes were like those worn in the summer season. But why was this so? Some strange marks were also found on the nearby devdar tree. Its branches were broken up to 5 meters, like they have tried to climb up the tree to save their life in the dark of night. The dead bodies of the next 3 hikers were also found buried in the snow between the tent and the devdar tree. These people wore warmer clothes than the previous 2 hikers. They were found in clothes, but they too were not wearing shoes and gloves. The direction of these 3 hikers was towards the tent, as if they were going back towards the tent. But in the middle they lost courage and died. There were some signs of injury were found on their bodies, but the doctors attributed the death of these 5 hikers to hypothermia. That is a condition in which all the body heat is lost due to being in cold for a long time. The bodies of the last 4 hikers were recovered from under a rock in the forest. Their exact location was 75 meters in the opposite direction from the same devdar tree. 3 of them had suffered deep injuries, 1 had a cracked head, and 2 had broken ribs. The medical examiner is of the opinion that such injuries were not caused by human or animal attack. They believe that they have fallen from a high place. The name of the animal attack was taken because the eyes of 2 of them and the tongue of the girl was missing. The most surprising thing was that 2 t-shirts and a paint found from the crime scene had radioactive material on them. Initially, the investigation was going on with the understanding that maybe someone had murdered them. But on the 28th of May, this criminal case was closed. Because there was no evidence to show that they were murdered or that they killed each other. Then what happened to these 9 people? What is the meaning of leaving the door of the tent and tearing it down? Was there such an emergency that everyone had to tear the tent with a knife and come out? Whatever this emergency was, it ended as soon as they came out of the tent, because there were no trace of their footsteps running away. That is, the danger that was in the tent disappeared as soon as they came out, and they relaxed and started walking. According to the official report, 6 out of 9 hikers died due to hypothermia, but looking at their condition, it was difficult to believe that they died due to cold. Till now, this case had received international coverage.
Странное исчезновение в горах Северного Урала группы американских документалистов.
Hikers, family members, and many others began to speak out against the Soviet Union's story. They believed that the Soviet government was covering up hikers' death to hide the real reason, especially. When radioactive particles were found, everyone's attention turned towards nuclear tests. This was the era of Cold War between the Soviet Union and America. And only a few years ago, America had shown the world a glimpse of its power by dropping nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After that, the Soviet Union had also started doing many nuclear tests. People thought that the Soviet Union had secretly done some nuclear test on this mountain, due to which 9 hikers lost their lives due to radiation, and now this case is attributed to hypothermia. The investigation team was looking at this case from different angles. On one occasion, avalanche was also blamed as the reason for this accident. It is possible that they felt an avalanche in the night, so everyone left the tent and ran away. But the avalanche theory could not be digested, because if an avalanche had come, the thin layer of snow that covered the tent would have been a very thick layer. Secondly, the group leader, Igor Dyatlov, was an experienced hiker. He would not have pitched a tent in a place where there was an avalanche. There is danger after this accident. More than 100 expeditions took place, but no one noticed such conditions here, which could lead to avalanche. But dangerous conditions were definitely experienced on this mountain, and that was in the months of April and May, because at that time, the snow was melting. While these 9 hikers went in February when there were no such conditions. This is the last photo taken with a camera of a hike, which was taken on the same night when this accident happened. It seems that this is a photo of some light. The camera lens could not focus properly on it in the dark. Because of this photo, new theories started to be born. Some people believed that it could be some unidentified object. Some said that is emergency light or candle light. The photo, whether it is a UFO, rocket, meteorite, or something, in the sky hadn't fallen near them. If this was so, then when dead bodies can be found inside the snow, then why was the debris of the crash not found? The actual reality of this last photo could never be revealed. Then our real question is still the same. What's the reason of Dyatlov incident? Why did they tear the tent from inside? How did hikers get dangerous injuries on bodies? And why were they wearing such thin clothes even in such cold when all these were experienced hikers? To know the truth, let us turn to the tent, which is actually the first link in the chain of incident. If seen in the photo taken a night or two ago, the exhaust pipe is coming out of the tent. This exhaust pipe and the stove, kept inside, was made by group leader Dyatlov himself, who was involved in the accident. They had also used this stove at last night because cooked meal was found inside the tent. It is possible that when the exhaust pipe was closed, due to some burning coals remaining in it, the fire suddenly flared up again. But when the tent was found, it did not have an exhaust pipe. That is, if there was a fire, then instead of coming out, the smoke was getting accumulated inside, due to which the people inside started suffocating. This is the only reason, understand, that the smoke was coming out from them. There was no control, and he immediately tore the tent and came out. There is evidence to prove this theory because burn marks were found on the body and clothes of hikers, and some people also had blood coming out of their mouths. Let us tell you here that one of the reasons for coughing up blood is inhaling too much unfiltered smoke. After coming out, he walked comfortably and started looking for a shelter. After doing a few hikes, he came out of the shelter tent without warm clothes. They already knew about one place. That is why they went down near the trees and started a bonfire there and extinguished coals along with the Devdar tree. The investigation team also found 4 hikers who were wearing thick clothes. They were looking for wood in the forest. Went a little deeper to search. There was a small avalanche triggered on the rock, and they fell into the rocks below, due to which he suffered serious injuries. Head got cracked, ribs were broken, and internal bleeding in the chest also started. The 2 hikers who were wearing less clothing were present near the Devdar tree, while the remaining 3 hikers got exhausted while climbing back towards the tent and froze there, while the 2 hikers sitting near the bonfire also died due to the extinguished fire. Talking about radioactive particles, let us tell you that everything is a little radioactive, but these clothes were more radioactive than required. A member of the group, Alexander Klivotov, worked in a nuclear facility, and George Krivanshenko used to work in a top-secret Soviet nuclear production plant. The radioactive clothes found belonged to these two hikers only, whereas radioactive elements were found in normal quantity from everyone else's clothes, and those hikers whose body parts were missing may have been attacked by wild animals there when they were injured and were fighting for their life. Today, 65 years have passed since this accident. Out of the group of 10 members, only Yuri. Yudin was left, who left the expedition due to illness. His natural death occurred on the 27th of April, 2013, at the age of 76 years. I hope that you will like and share first video of Unique Point TV. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.